What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Neck.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have yet another album review for you, and I would say this is pretty anticipated. I mean, I know this band still has, like, a pretty big fan base, and I would say they're, like, kind of large in part one of the reasons the term SUMERIAN-CORE exists. We're going to go over the latest offering from Born of Osiris, Through Shadows. This also comes out on the 11th of July on, of course, Sumerian Records, where they have been forever. In fact, I think they were one of the first bands to be on the label next to, like, the Faceless. This band formed in 2003 in Illinois. I believe they had, like, some different names before settling on Born of Osiris in 2007. This is their 8th album overall. I have been a fan since the very beginning.
Me too.
The New Rain. Solid. I guess it's considered an EP. I don't know. It's short, but it's pretty damn awesome. I actually went over their last album, Angel or Alien. I don't know which one it was, but it 100% sounded like Born of Osiris, which this band's sound is, I mean, I guess you could describe it as like progressive metalcore, deathcore,
genty deathcore.
Yeah, they're, you know, I mean, we'll just say Sumerian-CORE. I mean, again, this is one of the bands that kind of spearheaded that movement. And with them, you get bands like, you know, Veil of Maya, Conducting from the Grave, I mean, Periphery,
After
too.
the Burial.
After the Burial, 100%. Like a litany of bands that had this very groove-laden, djent, but not quite djent sort of sound. And this band has just been, like, steadily churning out the stuff for years. And this one is kind of an interesting one because this marks the departure of longtime guitarist Lee McKinney. He left this year. He is still on this album. But he is trying to, I believe, work on a project with one of the former members of Gavin Dance, which I've never liked that band. So, I know. I mean, you know, go for it, Lee. Maybe make something good out of that.
But again, as far as our history is concerned with this band, you know, both he and I started in the beginning. We've seen this band multiple times. I'm pretty sure I've seen them at least 3 to 4 times.
Right.
Back when our area here, back when Toledo used to have venues and bands that came to them, Born of Osiris rolled through here quite a few times. I think we saw them with Chimera, Winds of Plague. When this band first came out, I was a gigantic fan.
I mean, through their career, it's been kind of like up and down. Like, while I still really do like the debut, The New Rain, I think it's a solid album. The second album, A Higher Place, kind of wasn't as good. But then I'll say that I thought Discovery was a really solid album. It kind of, like, you know, showed some songwriting maturity on that one. And then, you know, from there, it's just sort of hit or miss. Like, I would find songs I really dig, and then, you know, songs that just felt like were just jumbled messes of riffs and synths. And that's just kind of this band's sound. Like, it's very, like, ADD, like, chuggy. I don't know. Like, it's kind of hard to describe other than saying it's Sumerian-CORE.
I mean, it's still fairly tight-knit. The riffs are almost robotic in nature. Like, reminds me of stuff like the Zenith Passage or Decapitated as far as the riffing and picking is concerned. Like, the drum work's still really solid, but the way these songs are put together, at least on this record, I am not so sure I'd necessarily get along with.
This album kind of has the, like, more mature album vibe. Like, they're definitely seem more focused on choruses on here. It's definitely poppier and brighter at times. You know, it still has its heavy syncopated breakdowns, and it's still got its, like, rapid fire transitions that, you know, you get one measure of one thing, like, oh, that's really cool, are we gonna hear it again? No, fuck you, no. But there's definitely a concerted focus on melody on this one for sure. And, like, when it comes down to, like, the overall, like, sound of this, and especially in terms of, like, the production, I feel like this one really kind of locked on the synths a bit, maybe too much. Like, synths have always been a part of this band's sound, and in various levels. Like, sometimes they're a little bit more in the back, like kind of an accent. They'll follow the riff and, you know, do some stuff on its own. And, I mean, here were, like, their more modern releases, I would say, from, like Tomorrow We Die Alive on. Synths have been, like, really out front.
But that seems to be the going trend, at least in more modernized deathcore bands, or, you know, stuff on, like, the Warped Tour, or, you know, things like that. Like, it just seems like they want to write something that still not only placates to the diehard fans, but the younger generation as well. The social media crowds, the TikTok, once again, is probably going to dig the shit out of this. And I mean, that's, good for them because at least the music is getting out there. They're probably selling records, but like, I don't know, the most modernized deathcore I find really has this attention to want to like sing. Like when Veil of Maya kind of pushed out and started singing, it's kind of when this whole era of synths and melody and clean choruses in more brutal music appeared.
I also blame Spencer Sotelo and his squeaky toy vocals.
I do too.
But again, like there's still, some good chunky like riffs on here. Like Lee is a solid guitarist. He does a lot of like fun creative stuff when he gets outside of like, the more straightforward djenty stuff. Like, djent to me is a lot of like just, fun syncopation, a lot of ones and zeros and shit. But when he gets outside of that and like, throws in clever arpeggios and like his timing is like a little bit different, I think it's pretty damn good. And his lead work on here, where leads do show up, are really solid. Like, dude's just a really good fucking guitarist, which kind of sucks because they're gonna have to find someone that's really solid to replace him. I mean, I imagine they already have, because I'm sure they're like booking tours and festivals and shit.
Right, especially with a brand new release of a record, like, they're on it.
But on the heavier side of this album, there's some pretty solid tunes still. The opener, Seppuku, pretty solid, just good chunky groove, and this album fucking grooves. Like, this is, very groove-laden to the point where, like, man, you could break out of that rhythm every now and then and, maybe change it up, but, there's something about just having, like, a good headbangable fucking moment on every track.
I mean, a lot of that groove, I think, is played in part to Cameron Loach's drum style. Like, that guy is a hell of a drummer. I don't care. His footwork is on point. He's super tight-knit, especially for a left-hand drummer. He and Sam Applebaum from Veil of Maya, they both kind of share this affinity for writing these really, like, kind of gross robotic drum beats, and it's all over this record. He's, I think, what makes the groove.
Yeah, the title track, The War That You Are, the particularly heavy track, Transcendence. Yeah, no, the song itself is really solid. And it's packed full of these just heavy, chuggy, syncopated grooves, the stuff that you really expect from this band. But the thing that really kind of caught me off guard was how chorus-focused this was. And Alien or Angel definitely had its cleaner moments. This one, I feel like, is really focused on, like, maybe, like, a kind of a more poppy hook, like Elevates.
Jude Elevate, what the hell?
Yeah, it's very, very, like, electronic-driven. And this, again, plays into the synths being very out front. Like, it kicks off like a Prodigy song. Like, legit, it kind of reminded me of something that would have been on, like, Fat of the Land or Invaders Must Die. Both of those albums I really enjoyed, but I really wasn't looking for that here. And, again, like, the electronic elements really take over on certain songs to the point where it just becomes very glitchy and poppy, and it sounds like the riffs and such become very secondary. And some of the key settings are just strange. Like, they don't always match up. Like, I feel like he kind of explored, like, every setting on the keyboard and, like, you know what? I haven't used that sound yet. And that's where you get, like, I don't know, the opening to The War You Are, which I really like that song, but the opening of it sounds like you just entered a boss fight in a fucking arcade game.
Or the beginning of Dark Fable, where it's fatality.
Yeah, dude, I screamed Mortal Kombat as soon as I heard it. There's even a part in Through Shadows, again, a song that I do like as it kind of moves on. It kind of sounded a bit like Imagine Dragons or Imagine Osiris. That's what I wrote. But that's just kind of how it leads in. Like, the rest of the song, actually, I thought was really solid. Really fun riff accents. Solid breakdown on the bridge. And I like the fact that Ronnie, like, kind of got down a little bit deeper in the vocals and kind of, reminded us that there's still, like, a little bit of deathcore in them.
Or the last track, Blackwater, which takes a minute to get going and is fairly melodic overall, but I oddly enough didn't mind it. The tones they used, the notes they used, it seemed to be, like, a little bit darker, even though it was still kind of bright. And I'm telling you what, on the bridge, it's the nastiest riff on the whole album.
Yeah, they went, like, almost like full bore, like, Spheres of Madness on there.
Yeah.
But the song itself is kind of reflective and somber. Like, you get these, like, delayed, clean guitars and, a good mishmash with the synths and the guitars. Like, I think they harmonize really well there. It kind of stands out for being a little bit different because Some of these songs just, I mean, it's Born of Osiris. It's, quick transitions, breakdown, maybe a breakdown after that to complement the breakdown before it. Like, that is a good chunk of this band's sound still. But there are some standouts, and both for good and bad reasons. Like, I brought up the poppiness of Elevate. Activated is another one that, I mean, it is almost like just completely clean vocals.
Like, to be honest with you, if you turned this on and you said, here you go, check out this song, I wouldn't have guessed Born of Osiris. And I think it's void, actually, mostly of Ronnie's vocals. It's got Spencer in it from Under Oath. I've never been really an Under Oath fan, but it's got that guy in it. I mean, he's a decent singer, I guess, but it doesn't sound like Born of Osiris at all. And there's even a sax solo. God damn you, Rivers and Nile.
I know. They've infected all of metal, and I know there's probably plenty of people just shaking their fists angrily at this guy, like, damn saxophones. I wasn't trying to get this song all sexy. It's definitely a more vocally driven song. Like, honestly, I can't really remember much of, like, a big riff. Like, again, the vocals are the things that take, like, center stage.
But back to the riffs and Born of Osiris overall, there is a song on here I felt sounded a lot closer to the original sound that Born of Osiris had way back when. It would be In a Mind Short-Circuiting. Johnny Five is alive. But that song, the overall composure of that song, and the fact that it's a little bit more like straightforward for them, it is jam-packed full of awesome riffs and transitions that land well, and just kind of that overall like quicker, kind of punchier, faster groove they had.
It's definitely a throwback, and it was nice to kind of hear a song that it felt a little bit more focused on the heavy up until like the end, where it kind of goes like full bore electronic trip hop, which, I mean, honestly, it wasn't terrible.
No.
But in terms of like the band being probably the most focused I think I've ever heard them, it'd have to be in songs like Torchbearer and In Desolation. Those two songs in particular aren't particularly like transition happy. In fact, they kind of just lay on like the core elements of the song. You have heavier verses, good syncopated chug, and then a big hooky chorus. And instead of doing like multiple wonky transitions just to show if they can, they get right back to the verse. There's even like more straightforward bridges on both of those songs too. And, again, it kind of ties into this being maybe a more mature release. Like, I would say overall, like, if they were trying to reach for a broader audience, this might be their most accessible album. But I will say that I still feel like there's a lot of colliding ideas in here. So, this might be like a rough transitional album, because I feel like they're still trying to make sure like their old fans, can still latch onto this, which, I mean, it's still there, but they also want some newer fans as well. And that's where some of the ideas collide, because you have, stuff that just doesn't fit, like square peg, round fucking hole. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it is down to like the guitars and the synths. Sometimes they line up really well. Like, you have some melodies that complement each other, and, it gels into something that, is pretty catchy. Then you have times where it's like, dude, why that setting? Why that noise? Like Dark Fable, which is a bonkers song to begin with just tons of weird transitions. There are points where I feel like they're trying to meld like lush dream pop with like big, heavy, syncopated, like Meshuggah chugs, and it just doesn't land. That and like some of the more like techno-y, like Crystal Method kind of like synths and glitchiness.
And there's a lot of that.
There's a lot of that. It doesn't always completely line up, and honestly, it kind of takes away from the guitars a bit. And with this band, in terms of like, transitions and such, I like technical music. I like hearing like some wild songwriting, but I feel like some of these transitions and some of these songs that are more busy are kind of pointless, because they're just there for a second, like a measure. They don't repeat, and you already know they're kind of heading back to like a chorus, or like, gonna get back to that more straightforward riff. It's just there as like a little additional seasoning, but it's nothing particularly memorable.
Like Inferno had a really big problem with that. There's probably nods to, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 different styles of metal going on in there, and the transitions, all of them are kind of jagged, and there were a lot of times where I was just like, what the hell are they doing?
It's kind of like a condensed BT Bam song, except it's also like a collaboration with Igor, the French DJ industrial artist. It's, again, glitchy, It's kind of off kilter. Maybe one of the most proggy songs on there, but you know, it's got a lot of good ideas. But when it came down to like stitching it together, which there's a lot of moving parts in here, it just doesn't quite land. Yeah, again, this definitely has like some moments on it that I enjoyed, and it kind of brought me back to when I first got into this band. But overall, this album, I don't know, man. It's sort of a mishmash, and I feel like it's kind of a transitional album. Like, I'd be kind of wondering what the next one's going to sound like, because I feel like some of these poppier songs, these more accessible ones, I feel like that's maybe what you're going to hear more of.
It's probably the direction they're going in, to be honest.
And yeah, overall, I got to give this 2.5 stars. Like, I don't think it's necessarily terrible, but I don't think it's great. It's just kind of in the mid territory.
Yeah.
Fun syncopated grooves. There's some, you know, solid chunky riffs on here. You know, I mean, some of this was like legit pretty fun. But again, it feels like it's just, you know, it's so cluttered with stuff, and you know, a lot of these songs are pretty short, and again, transition after transition. You know, I mean, that's kind of always been a part of this band's sound, but I feel like, I don't know, like it just doesn't land quite as well for me, at least in comparison to the earlier stuff. Oddly, I kind of appreciated like the more straightforward songs like In Desolation and Torchbearer, just because, you know, it was just kind of straight ahead. And granted, that direction led right to a big, giant, clean chorus that, you know, I didn't necessarily want, but I didn't think was necessarily terrible. It was kind of a relief from like the mishmash of just, you know, nutty riff changes and such in here. But still, if you're a big fan of this band and, you know, you really enjoyed the last one, and I mean, legit, you've probably enjoyed most of their albums, 100%. Check this out. Go get it. Also, I mean, if you still love like a lot of the old school Sumerian-CORE stuff too, it was like, you know, the mid to late 2000s, you're probably going to dig this as well. So yeah, check it out.
I'm going to go ahead and agree with 2.5 stars. You know, the positive takeaways from this, Cameron's drum work is on point. There are definitely decent riffs going on in here. It's clear, it's clean, it's polished, it's compressed, but I mean, it sounds solid. Like you're getting to hear everything that's going on. The problem I have is that there's a lot going on. It's overly saturated with synths, looking for atmosphere or weird noises or something to make it, you know, darker or richer or fuller. In this case, it made it more bright. Like in Bambi, after the fire dies out and they all come out into the sun and like, you know, the animals are celebrating. Well, in this case, they're also on E, and there's a rave going on in the middle of the forest. But, you know, like I said in the beginning, too, I at one point was a giant fan of this band, so I had to give it a spin nonetheless. And there are decent songs in there, but for me personally, too, there's probably actually nothing that I'll actually really go back to either. Like, there were memorable moments in these songs, but overall, I didn't think the songs landed real well. Still, nonetheless, if you are a big fan of Born of Osiris and have been following these guys for a while, definitely give it a spin, check it out for yourself. And like we said too, if you're a fan of the old guard, at least for Sumerian-CORE, the Faceless After the Burial, crap like that, you're probably really going to like this. I'd check it out.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We also have memberships. They're only 99 cents. And our lone perk is doing a members-only live stream, which we will eventually get down to because we are long overdue. And I'm sure you guys are missing out on us saying tons of stupid stuff outside of like this review and then the next review and probably every video literally after this and probably every video before this too.
Nonetheless, we will get back to those members-only live streams. I mean, you guys can get a booger troll too. We keep forgetting to mention that. Tons of stuff coming your way. Even if you don't join, we do non-members only live streams that are equally as stupid. Sometimes we have guests on them, and that's pretty cool. We get discography rankings. We are filming At the Gates later this week, so I promise you guys are going to get to see that soon. We have a segment that runs in tandem with that, the Thralls Greatest Hits, where we kind of tell you what we thought the most awesome songs were from the whole discography. We put a playlist out on Spotify, something you can interact with. Beyond that, we get States of Metal, Is It Metal, Is It Not Metal, Nick's Never-Ending Collection updates, just a ton of metal stuff all the time. That's what we do. We do it for you guys because we appreciate you being here. Thank you for being a part of Thralls of Metal. We really probably couldn't do this without you.
Yeah, you guys absolutely rule. Tons of content coming your way. So one more big thank you because you guys are awesome, and we will catch you later.